Creepypasta. You've heard the word, but didn't it occur to you that its name is strange? Hi there, my name is Ninetail, technically Jupiter, and before you ask, yes, it is a math joke. On the heels of my script writing and subsequent deletion of an entire 10 minutes or so tangents, that's estimated by the by, I asked myself a seemingly unassuming question. What is creepypasta? And I thought the answer simple. It's internet horror, Jupiter. No more, no less. But as I went into my disturbed slumber and the next day broke, it still bothered me. That answer didn't quite satisfy me. It didn't seem right, so I delved further into my machinations, my mind. I mused, one might say, on the meaning and came to the conclusion, but let me break my thought process open and allow it to sizzle. This is, of course, not a hard-set definition. If anything, I feel I am still missing pieces, but fandom archaeology is a future project, not a present one. To understand the word creepypasta, we have to go back, way back, to the terms copy and paste, and the further then to the computer GUI, or graphics user interface, on your computer or cellular device, otherwise known as a phone. You have a function generally referred to as copy and paste. Once you have copied something, it'll be in temporary storage, recognized as the clipboard, and when you paste, boom, the duplication is now on whatever page you've copied it to. Why is this important? The birth of the internet and where you think this is going. Oh, copypastas, right? No, in fact, that isn't the case. Before copypastas really took off, scammers and people who just wanted to mess with you via instant messenger platforms or fill your inbox with spam, one of these developments was chainmails. The joke of the Nigerian prince looking to spread his wealth if you only shared the email of 5 other people and gave your bank details alongside it. That is where it started, but being the primordial ooze the internet was at the time, people didn't have the same understanding of how easy it is for disinformation or malinformation to spread via anonymous means. Technically, nothing is anonymous, but you understand what I mean. The wild wasteland era of the internet. In this, the chainmail developed into the horrormail. I use the term horrormail because it was often to invoke an uncomfortable feeling. Sometimes within the body of text, a video was linked. That was a screamer. A screamer, by the by, is a video file with bright flashing images and allows screechmen to startle you and give you a jump. These horror mails were dime a dozen, but followed a routine of, my name is X and I died this way. If you don't send this to 5 or 10 other people, I will curse you and all those you love. Some differentiated themselves by being more verbose and playing on satanic themes, whereas others incorporated elements of folklore, deepening depending on the area. This left people terrified. If your response is, that wouldn't work on me, yes it would. Don't think yourself above anything. Hubris is a funny thing. But after proliferation and subsequent learning that it was fake, people caught on that it was more of a nuisance rather than an actual threat. That and theft was a somewhat common occurrence, so people were, as they say, noided up. As such, you might wonder, so this is how creepypasta started, or at least the bones of it? Still no. The next stage in this evolution was image boards and forums. I'll not use too much terminology since a vast majority of it is edgy and will get the channel in trouble, quote or not, but I will tell you one thing. If it was one thing that an image board or forum user despises more than anything, it is a Jannie. Jannie is primarily 4chan terminology, but like most things it seeds infest gardens to this day. Jannie is shorthand for janitor, and janitor in this case refers to the task of cleaning. Image board users and forum users are very messy people, and take, I'd say, an almost perverse glee in getting into spats with them. Make no mistake, the Jannie did take joy in their jobs in equal amounts. Power corrupts, or rather, makes two idiots fight each other. As such, one of the more common ways to annoy or catch the attention of Jannies was spam, and one of those was creepy posting. Big reveal. This is where creepypasta first earned its name, though it mainly referred to a subgenre of copypasta focused around scaring people or just annoying people more, with a different tint to it. Then two things happened. Well, I more attribute this being coincidence rather than a straight line of events, a timeline if you would. Something Awful, yes, that forum posts, hosted a competition to make something scary. From this spawned a man, a tall man, the Grossman, otherwise known as the Slenderman. And a bunch of young people saw it, and a few in particular took interest. Yes, marble hornets and its knock-on effect, or rather, lack thereof. I have many opinions about marble hornets, many negative, but I would be foolish not to at least acknowledge its existence. Despite the claimed popularity at the time, marble hornets was many years too early and instead slumbered away as nothing more than an oddity, an in-joke, but rather, in media? Hard to describe. If you knew, you knew. If you didn't, you didn't. However, this brief popularity formed the first incarnation of the Slenderman. Yes, this is important. Even now, the term creepypasta doesn't really apply. I'd say about roughly 2010 or 2011, even then I think it's a better estimate of 2012 or 2013, was the first real usage of the term because of one thing: pop culture, or rather popular culture, and the side effect of spawning the internet fandom. The further adoption of the internet more and more into one's daily life, that and corporations finally see the money, and as such invested more and more into internet infrastructure, websites, and the like, leading to the first cultural boom and shunting of the old Wild West, a civilization established, in a way. Despite this more civilized establishment, there was still a sense of lawlessness to the web, but people saw the value and, with the popularization, or at least partially, of referring to oneself as a fan of media outside the big names, nerd culture finally had a proper space, a decentralized and fragmented space, but space nonetheless. And yes, nerds were still bullied for it. But much like any ecosystem, different environments also exist, which is where creepypasta finally reached its next stage of evolution and subsequently evolved further. There is no one site which can truly claim the title of being the place creepypasta, quote, emerged from. There were bastions, holdouts, but never a timeline leading to one place or the other. It developed in part independently from its mocking and infuriating roots into the first incarnation of internet horror. Yes, creepypasta itself became a form of primordial ooze, and from it spawned internet horror, the grandfather, the ancestor, in a way. I've seen people use the word creepypasta to describe internet horror but fail to realize that they aren't the same terms, which on the surface to you may not seem right, but it isn't. The apple fell far from the tree, but creepypasta has its own genre but also spawned a myriad of other genres, in a way. Kind of. It's strange. Or rather, subgenre nowadays, that being a campfire horror story. Something that is fiction, but you can tell to your group and they'll play along. You know, it's a bit of fun. To waste some time, gather around the campfire, in the message forums, say, I read this scary story and the other, you know, like that. Which is why creepypasta came and went easily, because another thing occurred in the time frame this contingent of creatives, young and old alike, faced. Cringe culture. Cringe culture obliterated any chance creepypasta had, and to some extent still does to a certain degree. There was also the bullying of children, mentally challenged, English as a second language speakers, deviant art. Point being, a lot of people were bullied. As such, they fragmented and scattered to the wind. Take your pick, Tumblr, Twitter, Mastodon, whatever. They scattered. You can just find them anywhere. As such, they fragmented and scattered to the wind, again, to repeat myself, and went on to one of three places primarily: fanfiction.net, or equivalent thereof, Tumblr, and Reddit. Fanfiction.net is collapsing in on itself, Tumblr is an Ouroboros, and I'm surprised it's still alive, and Reddit is a cancer upon the internet that persists despite constant chemotherapy. It is also filled with pedophiles. Even now, where are those who appreciated creepypasta to go? Should we assume there's still many left? Like myself. Nowhere. Because subreddits, like No Sleep, exist, and they have... I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. I can only describe it as gentrified, as lazy horror authors smelled blood in the water and promptly built a fence around those areas. I'm no complainer. In fact, I've only recently gotten more negative in my thoughts, but I enjoy trash. I believe it a vital part to making something great and of worth. Practice makes perfect, and everybody should at least have some chance to get their ideas out, their mind out, one might say. But when given the opportunity, people, often who want to be famous, burn the ladder and only allow a select few through. That's, in my opinion, or perhaps delusional train of thought, believe happened to creepypasta. It was strangled in its crib, and from its corpse, modern internet horror emerged a multi-limbed homunculus. And with AI looming around, a further nail in the coffin as it discourages anyone from trying anything. Because horror, at least from what I have seen, is a hyper-specific niche. When you have an audience, they stay and stick with you. This inevitably leads to greed, as any person popping up and getting a level of popularity then becomes a target. It's quite a sad state of affairs, really. Though that is all I have to muse on the matter. Stick around, pass it on. Thank you for the patronage. I've been Ninetail. I'll see you later.